Hello and welcome back to vRealize Operations Management Pack video series. In this video series, we are talking about vRealize Operations Federation Management Pack, which is used to federate multiple vRops instances into a single pane of glass. In the previous video of this series, we spoke about how you can download, install, and configure the vRealize Operations Federation Management Pack. The video for the first series is available on my blog, which is vexpress.blogspot.com. You can go ahead and view the entire video, which is for around 15 to 20 minutes, to understand the use case for this management pack and how to install and configure it. Once you've configured this management pack, you would see that it's collecting data from your multiple vRops instances which you might have in your environments. In my case, I have two vRops instances which I'm monitoring through this management pack. One is in Palo Alto and the other is in London. Once you install the Federation adapter, you will automatically get a Getting Started Federation dashboard available with this adapter. The Getting Started Federation dashboard basically provides you different categories such as operations, capacity, configuration, and SDDC health, which you can leverage out of the box to go ahead and get an overview of your vRops instances and the environments which they're monitoring. In this case, you can see that I have a multi-select option of going through or stepping through different categories and selecting the dashboards associated to those categories. At the same time, I have the Federation deployment map, which tells me whether my Federation deployment is healthy and my collection from the federated instance is working fine or not. The good news here is that I'm collecting from the Palo Alto and London instances, and the collection looks green at this moment. If there are any issues with the collection, you will automatically get alerts in the system, and the deployment map will change colors from green to yellow to red. In this particular case, and in this video, we will today go ahead and review all the dashboards which are available under infrastructure operations, infrastructure capacity, and infrastructure configuration. In the next video, we'll talk about SDDC health and configuration. Let's begin with infrastructure operations. Infrastructure operations is primarily focused on personas such as NOC teams and executives, so that they can get an overview of the entire infrastructure which is being monitored through your federated instances of vRops. The great part about Federation is that it can bring up all your instances which are geographically distributed and being monitored through different vRops instances into a single pane of glass and provide you information around inventory, capacity, configuration, etc. Let's look at the inventory category under the operations. The first dashboard provides a unified summary of virtual environments across the entire infrastructure. The name of this dashboard is Operations Summary. Once I click on Operations Summary, I can very quickly get an overview of the entire environment which I've been monitoring from my vRops instances across the globe. I can see the number of vCenter servers, data centers, clusters, hosts, running hosts, VMs, running virtual machines, and data stores. Along with the inventory numbers, I can see a trend line which explains the growth of various different objects in the inventory. The primary use case for looking at a growth would be for virtual machines to understand how you have been deploying virtual machines across all your sites and how the trend has been growing over a period of time. With this dashboard, you can double click on any of these trend lines to get a historic view of how the growth has happened over the past few days. You can also jump back to history depending upon how much data you have retained in the system and look at that trend for 7 days, 30 days, or possibly a month. And going forward, you can also look at data for a year as well, depending upon how much data you've configured and saved in the history. Apart from the overall inventory trend, you can also get an idea around what kind of alerts and how many alerts are triggering in your environments across the globe. You can see that we are going ahead and giving you a trend line of critical alerts, immediate alerts, and warning alerts for the last 6 hours, which have triggered across all the different sites involved in this case. Then you can see we are giving you a summary of cluster capacity remaining percentage distribution. This is a pretty interesting graph. In this case, you are able to see how many clusters in your environment are in the distribution of 0 to 5% capacity remaining. Since in this environment I only have a single cluster, you can see that it is at less 0% capacity. You can also see the time remaining projection around how many clusters are in a category of 0 to 5% for time remaining, and that is highlighted in this dashboard as well. Imagine if you have multiple clusters, you can easily see the distribution of where they are in terms of capacity and time remaining, which is done through the capacity analytics engine of vRealize. Further to this, you can see the health of each of your clusters, which are grouped by parent vCenter and data center, and this will basically summarize a heat map across all your sites on a single pane of glass, and will provide you the health details of each of your clusters. In this case, I have a cluster which is red, and I can simply click on it to jump over to the cluster and understand what's going on with this particular cluster. I can also launch into the child vRops instance, which is where this cluster is being originally monitored. This summarizes the operations summary dashboard. The second dashboard in this category is called Alerts Overview. Alerts Overview is a page within vRops which is created as soon as you install the Federation adapter. Once I click on Alerts Overview, it will take me to the Alerts tab of vRops, and you can see that I have all the local alerts which triggered in this environment. I can see that there was a time when the adapter instance of London was down due to certain reasons. I can click on this and drill down further. What you don't see over here is the alerts which have triggered in the other environments which you're monitoring through Federation. For that, you can click on the Federation Alerts tab. As soon as you click on Federation Alerts tab, you will see a unified view of all the alerts which have triggered across all the sites which you're monitoring through this federated instance of vRops. You can see I have alerts from Palo Alto as well as London which have triggered over the same timeline, and they are available in a single pane of glass. You can sort these alerts by criticality or by time, as in when they were created. And this pane will basically allow your NOC team to understand how events are being generated across all your different data centers in a single pane of glass. You can also sort these alerts by different sites by selecting these top menu options on selecting the site for which you want to view the alerts. You can go ahead and turn off one and select the other, and at the same time select both of them to get alerts across all these sites. As you keep adding data centers or vRops instances to this Federation instance, you will see multiple tabs on this page which will allow you to go through different alerts. The great news about these alerts is that you can actually go ahead and click on any of these alerts, and when you do that, you will be redirected to the original vRops instance where the alert has triggered in context with that specific alert. In this case, I'm jumping on to my local vRops instance, which is in Palo Alto. And when I do that, I can see this alert triggered, and I can go ahead and take any actions against that particular alert. In this case, I can actually go ahead and run an action to delete any snapshots which are occurring on that particular data store, which is currently running out of disk space. And hence you can see that you can start with looking at all the alerts together while clicking on an individual alert and taking an action to solve that particular problem. The power of Federation is that it's now bringing together all these alerts and events from various different vRops instances into a single pane of glass for your operations to easily correlate problems and take an action on them. That was the second dashboard. Let's look at the third dashboard by going back to the Getting Started Federation page. The second category within the Federation page is about infrastructure capacity. Capacity planning is critical for virtual infrastructure, and hence these dashboards allow the capacity planner to understand the aggregate summary of capacity across the various different sites which are being run in an organization. In this case, we have two dashboards. The first dashboard allows you to understand what is the total capacity, use capacity, and available capacity across different data centers which you're monitoring through various different vRops instances. And what the second dashboard is talking about capacity optimization opportunities, where you can reclaim capacity to go ahead and repurpose it for different purposes. It could be for right sizing by removing idle, powered off, or oversized VMs, or it could be reclaiming storage resources by deleting snapshots or idle and powered off VMs. In this case, let's just quickly jump onto the capacity summary dashboard to learn more about the capacity numbers which are aggregated through federation. You can very quickly see the total environment capacity which you have across various different data centers and vRops instances which you are monitoring. You can see a trend of how the capacity is being utilized and provisioned with the trend lines below each of these numbers. It also gives you a consolidation ratio of what is your virtual machine to host ratio across the overall environment. This is a key metric which business is interested in most of the times to understand what exactly or how exactly the virtualization investment is helping them. Along with the numbers, you can also see what are the various different distribution of clusters around from a capacity remaining standpoint. You can see how much is the projected time remaining and how clusters are distributed across those timelines. You can also have a look in terms of how the cluster capacity is distributed from a CPU, memory, or a storage standpoint from the pie charts available in this dashboard. Further down, you can see a top 10 view of what are the top 10 clusters running out of capacity from a CPU, memory, or disk perspective. These top 10 views are sorted, and hence you can quickly realize and figure out which are the clusters which are struggling for resources or running out of resources and augment capacity for those specific clusters. Federation gives you the option of bringing all this information into a single pane of glass by creating views which can be simply exported or reported on. In this dashboard, you can see a single view which is available, which will provide you the per cluster metrics or reports in terms of CPU, memory, and disk utilization across each of these clusters. And this data can be simply exported by clicking on the export button, which is available on this page. On exporting, you can export it into a CSV format, or you can also use this view to set up an automatic report which can be shipped across to any of the capacity planners or to managers who are looking into procurement decisions on capacity. That summarizes the capacity summary dashboard. Let's get back to the Getting Started page and look at the capacity optimization dashboard. The capacity optimization use case is to figure out how much capacity is being wasted and how you can reclaim that in order to go ahead and save dollars in terms of not buying new capacity, and also improve the performance of your virtual machines, since oversized virtual machines can cause performance issues due to co-stop introduced because of multiple vCPUs. In this case, you can see what is the total provision capacity across all my environments from a CPU, memory, and disk perspective. you can also see the consolidation ratio, which we discussed earlier. Along with the total provision capacity, you can see the reclamation opportunity from a memory, vCPU, and storage standpoint. The reclamation trend over the last 30 days can help you to understand how you have increased how you have an increasing trend of either resources which are being wasted or resources which you have reclaimed from the infrastructure. Just to get a sense of how much you can reclaim, you do get a very systematic view of how much memory, vCPU, and storage you can reclaim from each of the clusters. This information allows you to go ahead and target specific clusters from where you can go ahead and reclaim resources. This information can also be exported in form of CSVs, which can then be emailed to specific site owners who can go ahead and start the reclamation process. In this case, you can see a report where I have all my clusters and the reclamation snapshot space or reclaimable snapshot space available within those particular cluster. Now in this case, I can actually quickly save around 4.3 terabyte of storage if I'm able to reclaim from all these clusters. And hence, you can see that if you're looking at larger environments with multiple sites, you can quickly get a huge amount of savings by looking into data through a federated view such as this. Post capacity optimization, let's look at the other dashboard summary page through the Getting Started page, which is infrastructure configuration. Under infrastructure configuration, we have two dashboards which focus on the vSphere cluster configuration as well as the vSphere host configuration. As we all understand that in a virtualized environment, if your configurations are not done properly, they might lead into performance or availability issues. And hence it's important for you to go ahead and track as to how all your clusters are configured for various different settings. Some of these settings might be related to vSphere high availability, vSphere DRS, or vSphere mission control. Let's look at the vSphere cluster configuration dashboard to understand how clusters are configured across all your sites, and if there are deviations, how you can simply track and report them. When you click on the vSphere cluster configuration dashboard, you can see that you have a total of 25 clusters, and half of them, or close to half of them, have DRS enabled. Now, this might be a good indication for me to go ahead and figure out that why DRS is disabled on others, and go ahead and fix those. Once DRS is enabled, it is also important that DRS is configured to fully automated so that you can utilize DRS to the best possible capabilities. You can also look at the DRS migration threshold. In my environment, I do not have certain metrics available, and hence I'm not able to look at the migration threshold. At the same time, you can look at settings like admission control and HA to make sure that you have highly available clusters. And in case of host failures, you will be able to recover from those failures immediately. It is often recommended to use distributed power management to ensure that you're saving on power source or power costs. Energy can be smartly used by using distributed power management, which allows or leverages DRS to go ahead and pack virtual machines to limited number of hosts in a given cluster when the utilization is low. As soon as the utilization kicks up, DRS automatically wakes up hosts using DPM and distributes the load across these hosts. You can track your clusters for DPM being enabled or disabled through vRops across all your sites. And this dashboard allows you to do that with this pie chart on this dashboard. Apart from distributed power management, for DRS to function, it is very important that vMotion is enabled across all your sites. Usually during troubleshooting, people tend to go ahead and disable vMotion, or this can also happen while setting up new clusters where you tend to forget to enable the vMotion setting. If that's the case, then this heat map on this dashboard can immediately point out to hosts where vMotion is not enabled by default. In this case, you can see that I have a host around where vMotion setting is 0, which means it's disabled. I can quickly go ahead and figure out which data center it is running in and which cluster it is a part of, and go ahead and enable it to ensure that vMotion is leveraged when moving virtual machines across the hosts. While this dashboard provides you an overview, it is important for you to understand that if you want to report this data, you can simply go ahead and export this from the cluster configuration details view. This view allows you or provides you a quick summary of each cluster and the settings associated with that particular cluster. And you can export this like any other view in vRealize Operations Manager. And a simple click can help you report this to individuals who are responsible to maintain and manage this infrastructure. That summarizes the vSphere cluster configuration dashboard within the Federation Management Pack. Let's look at the last dashboard today for this video, which is vSphere host configuration. When you click on vSphere host configuration, very similar to the cluster configuration, we try to highlight how your hosts are configured and what are the various different versions available from a vSphere, BIOS, as well as the vendors which you are leveraging for your virtual infrastructure. This quickly provides you how you're distributed across various different vendors. In this case, we have servers from Dell and Supermicro of different models. It also provides you the various BIOS versions which are running in your system. It's important that if you're using the same server hardware, then your BIOS versions are updated to the similar levels or same levels so that you do not see inconsistent behaviors between ESX servers in a given cluster. At the same time, we recommend for you to be on the same version or newer version of vSphere so that you can leverage all the new benefits from performance, availability, and other capabilities, and hence we track the vSphere versions which you have across all your environments. In a situation where you're going through a major upgrade of vSphere on all your sites, this pie chart helps you figure out if you have missed any of the site or any of the hosts in a given site. It also helps you track and report on how you're doing in terms of upgrading your environments from one vSphere version to another. This dashboard also comes and provides you availability of your ESX servers as one of the key aspects. If you have hosts which are in disconnected states due to any kind of network issues or physical hardware issues, then they will be reflected in the ESXi host disconnected state widget. If you have hosts which are not responding state, you can see them as well. Hosts with maintenance mode will also be reflected on this particular page. At the end of the day, if you want to go ahead and export any of these settings for any of these hosts, you can go ahead and do that by exporting the vSphere host configuration details view. This view, like any other view in vRealize Operations Manager, can be exported into a CSV or can be automatically reported during the reports function. With that, I will go ahead and summarize this video, and I hope you enjoy the vRealize Operations Federation Management Pack and the out-of-the-box content which is available for you to use with the pack. In the next video, I'll be talking about the SDDC health and configuration, and will show you how you can unify the view of all your software-defined data center applications, inclusive of vSAN, NSX, vSphere, plus the management components such as vRealize Suite and Site Recovery Manager through a single pane of glass across all your site. Stay tuned for the next video. This is Sunny signing off. Bye-bye.